I want to say we appreciate all the great work that the United States is doing with Nigeria and many other African countries, especially as it concerns infrastructural development policies and all of those. But I'm of the opinion that if we do not make investment in education more than any other sector of the economy, then we are not building a sustainable partnership. I'm saying that in respect to the fact that we are all aware of the intellectual drain that Africa is experiencing, due to the fact that the grass seems green on this side, and then the United States attracts so many intellectuals who should have stayed to develop and run these programs. For example, recently when we were in Kenya, you launched a project around power and energy. I'm of the opinion that if that program is going to be successful and sustainable, then all of those programs should include the partnership of universities. Because through that, we can build the capacity of universities, and then those countries can go around in other African countries replicating that. So in that case, we can control the train that is moving from Africa to the West or to any other part of the world. So I want to ask, what is the United States doing to control this intellectual drain to the Western world? And what are you doing to increase, more than others, the investment in education so that our partnership and development can be truly sustainable? Thank you.
It is an excellent question.
Yeah.
But I'm going to reverse the question a little bit. The question is not what is the United States doing to reverse the brain drain. The question is what are your countries doing to reverse the brain drain? Now, many of you have friends who study overseas. They study in the West, and then they decide to stay instead of going back home. Now, the United States, we are partnering with every country here. I guarantee you there are programs to invest in education in your country. There are programs to work with the universities in your country. I think you make an excellent point that on big projects like Power Africa, we should make sure that there is a capacity building component. And in fact, one of the things that's been done with our development assistance that we're providing is to emphasize capacity building. So, for example, our Feed the Future program, the goal is not to just keep on sending food forever. The goal is teaching farmers to double or triple or quadruple their yields, which then gives them more income, which then allows them to buy maybe a tractor or to start a cooperative food processing plant that then accesses the market, and the money gets reinvested, and now you're building jobs and commerce inside the country, as opposed to just being an aid recipient. So I'm all about capacity building. But ultimately, why is it that you have so many talented, well-educated young Africans leaving instead of staying? Why is it that you have so many talented, well-educated people from the Middle East or parts of Asia or Latin America who would rather live here than there? The issue is not just that these are wealthy, we're a wealthier country. I think it's fair to say, and you know better than I do, but part of it has to do with a young person's assessment of, can I succeed in applying my talents if, for example, the economy is still built on corruption so that I have to pay a bribe or be well connected in order to start my business? Or is there are there still ethnic rivalries in the country? Which means that if I'm from the wrong tribe, I'm less likely to advance? Or is there still so much sexism in the country that if I'm a woman, then I'm expected just to be at home and be quiet when I'm a trained doctor? Or is there a lack of rule of law or basic human rights and freedoms that make me feel as if I am restricted in what I can do? I make this point to say that some of the brain drain is economic, but some of it has to do with people's assessments of, if I stay in my country, am I going to have the ability to succeed? And that's why when I talk to leaders in Africa or anywhere around the world, I say, look, if you put together the basics of rule of law and due process and democracy, and you're able to keep peace so that there's not conflict and constant danger, and the government's not corrupt, then even a poor country, you're going to attract a lot of people who are going to want to live there because they'll feel like they're part of building something and are contributing something. Because the one thing I've discovered is, you know, right now I live in a big house, but it's a lease. You know, I have to give it up in 18 months. You know, a big house is nice for the first, you know, month. It's like, wow, this is a really big house. Then after about 2 months, you realize I can't live in all these rooms. My life is not appreciably better once I've got the basics. And I think a lot of young Africans would be much more interested in staying, even if they don't have as big of a house, or, you know, the shopping malls aren't as big, or if they felt as if the basics are taken care of, I can keep my family safe, I can practice my profession, I'm not going to be discriminated against, the government is well-meaning and well-intentioned and is not corrupt, and, you know, public investments are being made, then people, I think, would have a sense of meaning in their lives. That doesn't mean that there aren't going to be some people who would still rather, you know, live in London or New York because they think they can make more money. But I think that, as much as anything we do, is going to reverse the brain drain. And that's why what you do is going to be so important. Because if you set a good example of going back home and rebuilding your country, and if you, as young leaders, are creating an environment in which young people can succeed, and you're setting a new set of expectations about how exciting it is to be part of something new, that can help turn the tide. So good luck. All right? Thank you.